Optimizing Front-End Deployment with AWS CDK, a complete guide to using S3 and CloudFront. This podcast is brought to you by Business Compass LLC. We are an Amazon Web Services advanced consulting partner. We build and migrate workloads to Amazon Cloud. Our website is businesscompassllc.com. Our phone number is 973-638-2228. Our email address is contact@businesscompassllc.us. The power of AWS CDK in modern web development. The demand for robust and scalable web and mobile applications is at an all-time high in the rapidly evolving digital landscape. These applications are the backbone of modern businesses, enabling seamless user experiences across various devices. However, with increasing complexity comes the need for efficient deployment strategies to keep pace with development cycles. This is where the AWS Cloud Development Kit, CDK, comes into play, offering developers a powerful tool to manage cloud infrastructure easily. The role of web and mobile applications in the digital landscape. Web and mobile applications are integral to businesses' digital transformation. They provide customer engagement, data collection, and service delivery platforms, driving user satisfaction and business growth. As these applications grow in complexity, the infrastructure supporting them must be scalable, secure, and highly available. AWS CDK helps bridge the gap between development and operations by allowing developers to define cloud resources using familiar programming languages. Bridging the gap between developers and DevOps with infrastructure as code, IAC Infrastructure as Code, IAC, is revolutionizing how we manage and deploy cloud resources. By treating infrastructure configurations as code, teams can more efficiently version control, automate, and scale deployments. AWS CDK extends the capabilities of IAC by enabling developers to use high-level programming languages like TypeScript, Python, or JavaScript to define cloud infrastructure, thus reducing the friction between development and operations. Introduction to AWS CDK, empowering developers to control cloud infrastructure. AWS CDK is a robust open-source software development framework that allows developers to define cloud infrastructure in code and provision it through AWS CloudFormation. With minimal friction, developers can use familiar languages to build and deploy cloud resources such as S3 buckets, CloudFront distributions, and more. AWS CDK abstracts away the complexities of AWS infrastructure, making it easier for developers to focus on building great applications. Getting started with AWS CDK for front-end deployment. To effectively use AWS CDK for front-end deployment, there are a few prerequisites and initial setup steps to consider. Prerequisites: AWS account, IAM permissions, Node.js, and NPM. Before getting started, ensure you have the following. AWS account. Create an AWS account if you still need one. IAM permissions. Ensure you have the necessary permissions to create and manage AWS resources. Node.js and NPM. Install Node.js and NPM, as these are required to run the AWS CDK toolkit. Installing AWS CDK toolkit and TypeScript. Install the AWS CDK toolkit. NPM install GAWS CDK. Install TypeScript. NPM install G TypeScript. Creating your first CDK project, project initialization and file structure overview. To start, initialize a new CDK project. McDeer Frontend Deployment. CD Frontend Deployment. CDK init app language TypeScript. This command creates a new directory with a basic CDK project structure, including essential files like app.ts, where you will define your cloud infrastructure. Building your deployment infrastructure. S3 bucket and CloudFront distribution. Once your project is set up, you can begin defining the infrastructure for your front-end application. Defining your S3 bucket, configuration for secure and efficient storage. Create an S3 bucket to store your front-end assets. Here's a basic example. Import as S3 from AWS CDK lib/AWS S3. Const bucket equals new S3.bucket this, front-end bucket. Website index document, index.html. Public read access, true. Semicolon. This code defines an S3 bucket configured for static website hosting with public read access enabled. Setting up CloudFront distribution, optimizing content delivery with CDN and UA. Next, set up a CloudFront distribution to serve your content globally with low latency. Import as CloudFront from AWS CDK lib/AWS CloudFront. Import as origins from AWS CDK lib/AWS CloudFront origins. Const distribution equals new CloudFront.distribution. This, Frontend distribution. Default behavior. Origin. New origins.corigin bucket. Semicolon. This snippet creates a CloudFront distribution that points to your S3 bucket, ensuring your content is delivered efficiently to users worldwide. Effortless deployment of your front-end application. With your infrastructure defined, the next step is to deploy your front-end application. Streamlining the process, automated deployment with CDK. Deploying your infrastructure is as simple as running CDK deploy. This command packages and deploys your CDK stack to AWS, provisioning all necessary resources. Direct deployment from local build directory. Simplified workflow. During deployment, you can easily automate uploading your front-end assets to the S3 bucket. Consider adding an AWS CLI command to sync your local build directory with the S3 bucket. AWS S3 sync /build/s3:/ your bucket name /. This command ensures your latest front-end build is always deployed, cleaning up and managing your deployment. Destroying the CDK stack, ensuring resource cleanup and cost management. To avoid unnecessary charges, you can easily tear down your CDK stack when it's no longer needed. CDK destroy. This command removes all resources associated with your stack, helping you manage costs effectively. Beyond the basics, additional tips and considerations for CDK deployment. Use environment variables. Leverage environment-specific configurations to manage different stages, for example, development, staging, production. Version control. Store your CDK project in a version control system like Git for collaboration and tracking changes. Monitoring. Integrate AWS CloudWatch to monitor the health and performance of your deployed resources. Conclusion. Mastering front-end deployment with AWS CDK. AWS CDK empowers developers to take control of their cloud infrastructure, simplifying the deployment process for faster and more reliable web applications. By leveraging CDK, you can streamline your workflow, automate deployments, and ensure your applications are always running at peak performance. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please share this podcast, visit our website, and follow our social media links.